niche, yeah.
And again, I didn't really, I'm Matt Taylor, and I'm the executive director of the Western Stewardship Group. And it is every bit of our intent to be a part of this amazing educational opportunities around here and working with the schools. And this story, the salmon story doesn't necessarily start in just this facility, but you're going to see it soup to nuts. So I'll let you give me a hold your...
And just as a framing, what we're going to do is take a look at this facility and be able to see some real fish finally. And then sort of for dessert, we're going to take a walk down the watershed real quickly and see some native spawning pools via some slides that we have. So that'll be our wrap up.
So this is the Salmon River Fish Hatchery. We've been here since 1974. We raise 4 different types of fish here. We raise the fall chinook that we'll mostly be focusing on here today and looking at. We raise Silet's steelhead, rainbow trout, and coho that go to the Young's Bay for their buoy tin fishery there. So basically I'm just going to kind of walk you through the life cycle of the fish and how we do it here at the hatchery. So if you have any questions at any time, just shout out your questions. You don't got to raise your hand or anything. So before we go into the hatch house, I'll kind of explain about it a little more out here. It's really loud in there and I'll be shouting a lot, so I'll try and talk about it out there. So when we get the green eggs, the green eggs, we get these out of the females when we spawn and put them with the milt, and fertilization occurs, and that's where all the magic happens in making the babies. And so a couple months later, 38 days, they become eyed eggs. And from this point to this point, we don't really touch them that much. They're very fragile at that point, don't really handle them, do their own thing. They're in the incubators in the hatch house, which I'll show you what those look like. And then at this point, when they're eyed eggs, we take them out and shock them. And by shocking them, we literally drop them into another bucket, from one bucket to another bucket. And by banging them on the walls of the buckets, we're getting rid of the weak ones. The weak ones are going to die and they turn white. So, and we pick those ones out, pick the dead ones out. So we don't have to deal with them because they're going to die anyways. They're not going to survive to the fry stage. So at this point, and we use machines called an egg picker, and it's got an automated wheel that spins. And if the bad one, if they go through a photo eye, and if it can't see through the egg, it pops it out. So all the bad eggs go one way and all the good eggs go another way. So at this point, then they're put back into the incubators where they stay for another 30 to 40 days, where then they hatch out of their egg and become sack fry. And they got a little jelly belly on them. And at this point, they're not ready to eat yet. All their nutrients and food is coming from their belly on their stomach. So as they grow up, their stomach is slowly starting to disappear because they're eating it and absorbing it. And then slowly, after about 4 months, they become zip-up fry, and their tummy looks like it's got a zipper right up the button, just like our zippers on our coats. And at this point, they're ready. They come out of the incubators, and we pick all the dead ones out because not everybody survives. It's the story of life. When you're raising thousands and thousands of fish, you have the dead ones too. So then at this point, we take them and put them outside into the ponds, and that's where they go to fishy kindergarten, and they're ready to eat at this point because they've never eaten food. So it's like baby food. It's small and grained and powdery, and it floats on the top of the surface, and that's where the fish learns to eat it. And then as the fish gets bigger, the food size gets bigger, and they're eating fish food, which looks like dog food, but specially formulated for the fish. And it's made out of fish because fish eat fish in the wild. So.
Can you explain how you get the eggs out of the female?
We take the females, and basically in the wild, the fish die. It's a natural life cycle. So we're just helping them out in the process a little faster. So we kill them.
Okay.
And we rip their stomach. It's called ripping, but basically cutting up their whole stomach, and the eggs fall out, and we put them in a bucket. And then the males, we kill the males, and you just have to rub along their tummy, and their milk squirts out their vent. And we put them in Dixie cups and 1-to-1 matrix, one female to one male, and the magic happens. As soon as that milk hits the ovarian fluid or any water, they become active and fertilization occurs.
So how does that actually occur, I wondered? Because I've watched them in the wild. So when the milk hits the egg sac, what's actually occurring?
The water, the sperm is being activated. They're alive at that point.
As soon as they hit the water?
As soon as it hits the water, and they're looking for the embryo. They're looking. That's why they have to be on the eggs. Where like if you see like the couple jacks will try to get in there.
Exactly.
They're not successful because their milk's not getting on the eggs. It's an instantaneous thing where it happens, but as long as it's laying on the eggs, then it can penetrate the egg just like any osmosis type
So
thing.
if I'm a female, I'm dropping my eggs, how long before a sperm has to hit it? I mean, it has to be pretty quick, or could it be an hour later?
It could either way, either or. Yeah. It just depends on who's hanging out, if watching her drop her eggs onto the red, and what males are around and who's competing for what to go towards the eggs. And then she'll guard her red for a while the fertilization's taking place in the wild. So,
Are there ever any infertile males if the sperm is not
yeah,
actually fertile, so you kind of don't fertilize the eggs?
We
How do you know that?
go through all, we keep everything for brood that we want and separate the females from the males, and then every week we go in and you can tell how ripe a female is or she's ready to spawn by her belly. She'll be rock hard and feels like she has abs if her eggs are still green. When they're ready to give their eggs, their stomach feels like pudding. It's just soft, soft, soft. So you know her eggs are ready to go. They're not held up in their sacs anymore tight. They're loose and ready to flow out. And you can push on their belly, they'll squirt out of their vent. So that's how you know a female's ready. For a male, you just have to rub near his vent, and if white stuff comes out, he's ready to go. And if you rub it and nothing comes out, his testes aren't developed yet, and so we'll leave him for the next week. So mostly it depends. It depends on the female, how many female. Like if we took 20 we'll check the females first, and then go back and find 20 males. We always have way more males than females, it seems like. That's why jacks come back too. That's the 2-year-olds come back and they think they're ready to spawn with everything. Yeah, typical teenager, right? So that's basically the life cycle in the hatch house. So once from the hatch house, they go to our ponds, and it's about a 1.5-year life cycle in the hatchery, from green egg to release as a smolt. And when we release them, we lift up our screens and they swim out to the river through our piping system, and at that point they are ready to go directly to the ocean. They just keep going out to the ocean and head up to Alaska.
Is there a 2-month period? I heard him say the hatchery is 2 months.
From release, or it depends, because they from the river, they're going to hang out about a month probably at the headwaters, getting used doing the osmosis from the brackish water, getting used to the seawater. So they hang out in that tidal zone for quite a bit. So, but they're in the hatchery system for about 1.5 years, and then they have their life cycle is dependent on when they come back. So they could come back at 2-year-olds as a jack, so then they only live 2 years old out in the wild, or they come back at 3, 4, 5, depending on. And the bigger the fish, the older they are, and when they come back, they're gonna die no matter what happens. When they come back to the river, they're dead. At least for the fall chinook, for any salmon. It's different for rainbow trout and steelhead. So.
The two fish.
Huh?
Can we see some
Yeah.
Eggs for.
We're gonna go to the hatch house first and see the real thing. These ones are preserved. They were real, they're preserved, but we can see some ones that are living right now.
Nice.
And then we'll go see the fish.
Okay, the 2 months that they're in the intertidal,
Yep.
is that where the greatest predation is? By the
yeah.
cormorants and all?
Birds and sea otters and the wild. They're in the wild now, so anything that's in the water that wants to eat fish is gonna try and eat them.
And so
for
we
sure.
want to kind of spread the time that they're all there together out through a 6-month period versus 2 months, do you stagger the release?
Unfortunately, no. We let all our fish go at one time.
Okay.
Everything, we have a production of 200,000, and when we're ready to go, they go out on their own.
Yep. I got you. That's what we thought.